Come on, this loop, John B. My grandfather.
Hey everyone, it's Ivan, KidBadger.com, here today to bring you a gun review of sorts and basically share with you my adventure and journey with this rifle right here, this Ruger American. Backstory: a friend of mine and friend of the channel sent out this rifle. It did not look like this initially. It was a straight bone stock Ruger American chambered in .308. Pretty light contour barrel, but it's a Ruger and they absolutely shoot. I took this thing out, had a Redfield 3-9 scope on it, just duplex reticle, put a bipod on there, shot a couple different groups at 100 yards. This is what I got. The gun obviously shot. At that point though, I was like, well, how can we basically make this better with respect to what I want to get out of this rifle, how I intend to use it? And that took me down the journey of this little Ruger American. First thing I did, pull this guy out of the factory stock, throw that away, and drop it into this Magpul American Hunter stock. I think there is a lot of value in these stocks. One, you have adjustable length of pull as well as comb height, so you have basically tailor this thing to you every time you mount the gun. You're looking through the optic where you should be. Things rad. I do definitely like the grip angle more on this than kind of the regular stocks, and then all the added bonuses too, to include detachable box magazine rather than just the internal magazine. So you can actually swap mags rather than load this thing from the top. And the forend. So down here we have numerous slots, M-lock slots. That's pretty cool. One, you can approach it different ways. As far as mounting a sling, for example, if you want, you can put your sling mounts on the side to include run your sling back here so that when you sling this rifle, it actually lays flat rather than having your studs here and down here. So whether it's in front of you or behind you, it wants to flop one way or another. Way easier to just have it mounted here and on this side if you're right-handed. So it actually will lay flat up against your chest when you're walking, carrying this thing. The other thing that's nice is mounting a bipod. So I can go ahead and throw this piece of Picatinny rail right here, because as much as I love mounting bipods to sling studs, I don't. They're actually a terrible way to mount them, but they are kind of the gold standard because the hunting firearms industry hasn't really caught up. So everyone puts little sling swivels on there. Consequently, people continue to make bipods that mount to them. Much more secure though, and you can remove it easily if you need to swap the bipod to something else, or maybe you don't need a bipod. Next up, not that I have anything against that little Redfield 3-9, but I put this guy on here, which is the Bushnell Nitro 4-16, uses their mill deploy reticle. So mill reticle, first focal plane, plenty of adjustment, and this ultimately will let me reach this out further than I would with 9 power as well as just that duplex reticle. Being able to either use the holds that are in here, or if I want, I can take the turrets off and actually make adjustments. Lastly, the centerpiece of this project, the barrel. Depending on use case, what you plan to do with your rifle, maybe you want like a 26-inch barrel, 24 inches, whatever it is. Personally, I don't. Lots of times I am carrying a gun up in the mountains, going through the woods. The last thing I want is something long that's just a big snag hazard. And on top of that, if I'm gonna end up shooting suppressed, it's gonna be that much longer. So I want to shorten things down, especially for usually how I end up shooting guns, like distances, everything like that. I'm not losing anything by having a shorter barrel. Personally, I'm not. So to that end, I ended up going and paying a visit to Brad from IAT, Innovative Ammunition Technologies. Brad is an amazingly talented gunsmith. What he ended up doing for me was initially chopping the barrel down to about 16.5 inches, and I knew I was going to want to be able to put either muzzle devices and or silencers on it, specifically my silencer by Q. So to that end, I was like, all right, let's get this thing threaded. Well, unfortunately, due to the diameter of the barrel, could really only do about 1/2 by 28, not ideal for pretty much any muzzle device for a 308. So to that end, he set himself to work, not only cutting the barrel down, getting the threads, everything like that, to include making sure that they were actually concentric with the bore, because yes, you can have the actual hole going through the barrel, not actually center in the barrel. But after doing all that, getting all that work done, he also went above and beyond, went ahead and made me a pretty awesome adapter. So it would basically step up that 1/2 by 28 to the 5/8 thread pitch. And in addition to that, putting a taper on it so I could crank on the cherry bomb and have that thing locked on there without having to use rock set or anything like that. I now have a shorter barrel, really handy, as well as my cherry bomb, so I can drop a silencer on here. This one happens to be the Thunder Chicken, leaving me with a nice, compact little package. After getting this rifle put together, I then took it out and did some shooting with it. Here's what I got. never shoot the 5th round. Again, never shoot the 5th round. Well, some of those groups were without the silencer. I did some shooting with the silencer as well. I also did a little bit of shooting at distance with this guy too. Where I'm at with this rifle, I think this thing is awesome. Is it a quarter MOA gun? No, it's not. I don't think it ever was, it ever will be. But does that matter? I don't think so. I think, honestly, with that Hornady, if I'm actually doing my part, this thing will probably hold at or a little under 1 MOA, which is totally fine. And realistically, what's the application for this? One, just kind of having fun, which this will absolutely do, as well as hunting. And the accuracy you get out of this with pretty much all those loads, plenty good for hunting, dropping a deer, whatever it may be. And yes, someone out there is like, you know what, why didn't you just buy XYZ? I could have, absolutely could have, but part of it's the journey, man. And when you have something and when you make it yours, it's yours. Like, you have a story behind it, like you have history behind it. So yeah, this could have came off the shelf, but no, like, I personally enjoy the process of going through and being like, oh, hey, what about trying this? Like, let me drop this into a different stock. You know what? Don't really care for the barrel. Like, let me cut this thing down. And yeah, I could definitely have started somewhere else, but I started where I did, and this is where I ended up. And I think it's a pretty rad little rifle. If you have a rifle sitting in the back of your safe, or maybe there's something on a used rack down at a local gun store, think about picking it up and starting a project. Go down that path and see where it leads you. Make something yours, make it personal. See what you end up coming up with. And if you do, let me know how it goes. I'm always curious what people end up coming up with and kind of the why behind it. Make something unique to yourself. And if you get beyond your depth, like say cutting and threading barrels, find a good gunsmith. There'll be a link over on my site to Brad at IAT. Does amazing work. You can hit him up if you have a special project coming up. And lastly, if you want to see videos before they're released, a little sneak preview, make sure you sign up for my email list over at kitbadger.com. Put out a weekly sit rep email each week, kind of telling you what's been happening, what is going to be happening, and a link to a video before it's released. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Drinking all night, got into